So if we're going to be good skeptics, then we need to give the same acid test to skepticism itself. Now I invite you to prove me wrong by giving evidence for skepticism that meets the criterion set by skepticism, but I am confident that you will not meet this challenge.
Sorry, Mig Killer, but as always, you should have been a little less confident and a little more skeptical. In his most recent video, migkillertwo has challenged Don Exodus and skeptics generally if we can give evidence for skepticism. And that's, I think, a good challenge. It's a good question. Can we give evidence for skepticism? I believe we can. I think it's quite easy. We start by looking at just some of the possible propositional claims that we might or might not believe. Here's an incomplete list, simply pertaining to one issue, the color of the sky. Which of these claims, if any, should we believe? I hope I can fairly assume, Mig Killer, that you share the epistemic value of believing the truth and not believing things that aren't true. So, given the myriad of options, which attitude is most likely to lead us to the truth? Clearly, we shouldn't just pick our favorite color, nor should we just pick one at random, nor should we simply believe what we're told. In fact, any of those attitudes makes it very, very likely that we will not arrive at the truth, but will rather arrive at error. How do we know this? Well, because we've all tried it. Usually as children, but some of us even when we're adults. When we adopt those sorts of credulous attitudes, we often end up making mistakes. So what's the preferable alternative? Starting from the absence of any evidence, how should we approach any given claim about the color of the sky? Or any truth claim at all, for that matter? Clearly, we should adopt skepticism. Since the vast majority of possible truth claims are going to be false, and only a select few of them are going to be true, anything less than skepticism makes it very likely we will end up in error. Now, the exact degree of skepticism called for will be determined by the circumstance. Skepticism is not the only epistemic value. Like I said before, believing the truth is another epistemic value, as is having your beliefs be in harmony with one another, as is having your beliefs be in harmony with the best available evidence. Also, non-epistemic values are going to be relevant here. Moral, pragmatic, social values are also going to determine what we should and should not believe to a greater or lesser extent. But all other things being equal, skepticism of one degree or another will prove a successful and healthy attitude in almost any circumstance. So in short, the evidence for skepticism is the fact that in practice, it is the attitude that makes it more likely that we will not believe false things. By contrast, the absence of skepticism, otherwise known as credulity, will make it very likely to believe false things. Ergo, anyone who values the truth should adopt the attitude of skepticism. But since I'm a skeptic, I'm willing to consider the possibility that I might be wrong. I'll think about it. And in the meantime, I invite you to exercise your own skepticism towards mine. If you see a flaw in my reasoning, I would be sincerely interested in knowing what it is. Of course, the very process of skeptically evaluating my reasoning would seem to prove my point. So you should know in advance that any criticism you propose towards me will be met with considerable skepticism.
And did you know the size of terrible thing?
Here's just a short list, simply pertaining to one issue, the color of the sky.